Mr. Ganesh Rajaram.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I rise in support of the motion to thank President Halimah Yacob for her address in this House last week. Sir, President Halimah's speech clearly defined the roles and challenges facing the fourth generation of 4G leadership of Singapore. Building a well-connected world city, developing a vibrant economy, forging a cohesive, caring society, and nurturing a Singapore identity that we can be proud of, these were all addressed by Madam President, and they struck a chord with all Singaporeans. But to me, sir, the most important points of Madam President's address were about the 4G leadership, earning the trust and connecting with Singaporeans. Trust is a commodity that cannot be taken for granted, and it's not easily earned. The trust that we currently have between Singaporeans and the government will not automatically pass on from one generation to another. Madam President said, and I quote, "In each generation, the people and leaders must work with one another, go through trials and tribulations together, and forge their own bonds afresh." She added, they, the 4G leaders, will need to listen to the views and feelings of the people, and by their own words and deeds, show that they have heard. These are powerful words, and I hope very much that the 4G leadership will heed this very wise advice. Sir, as trust and connecting with the people is the foundation stone of the social compact between Singaporeans and their leaders. So how should the 4G leadership connect, maintain, and build on the trust that their predecessors have had for all these years? My sense is that this is already happening. We have arguably the brightest and most able talent of their generation on the 4G leadership bench. Many are natural-born leaders, but in today's digital world, where reputations are made almost instantaneously and lost just as quickly, how our next generation leaders engage with Singaporeans will be particularly crucial. Behavioral experts will tell you that how you are perceived is often the starting point of how your message is received and understood. And this intuitive impression you make on your audience is very much a function of the multiple visual and social cues you send out. Sir, self-awareness is, funnily enough, one of those qualities obvious to those who value it and quite invisible to those who struggle with it. In a paper published in the MIT Sloan Management Review in February this year, self-awareness was cited as the most important capability for leaders to develop. Successful leaders know where their natural inclinations lie and use this knowledge to boost those inclinations or compensate for them. A Korn Ferry international study also found that self-awareness impacts the bottom lines of companies. Sir, our 4G leaders have shown their capabilities in leading ministries, formulating policies, and tackling difficult issues on a daily basis. As they transition to become the future leaders of Singapore, I hope very much that they will strive to remain fully aware of the aspirations and concerns of Singaporeans on the ground beyond the traditional avenues of feedback. So the advantage that the 4G leadership have today is that they are surrounded by a treasure trove of experience and wisdom that lie with the 3G and 2G leaders, many of whom are still with us in this House. They exemplify the trust and connection with the people that President Halimah spoke about. I would like to pay tribute, sir, to 3 of these leaders who recently stepped down from their ministerial posts. Sir, Singapore owes a debt of gratitude to Mr. Lim Hng Kiang, Mr. Lim Swee Say, and Dr. Yaacob Ibrahim for their dedicated and service and contributions over many years. I did not have the privilege of working closely with Mr. Lim Hng Kiang and Mr. Lim Swee Say, but I've seen how well they connect with the ground and how trusted they are. So thank you, sirs, for your contribution. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I did have the very great privilege of working closely with Dr. Yaacob Ibrahim for over a decade or so. Prior to working with him, I had the privilege of lining up behind him at a popular biryani stall at Newton Food Center when he was Minister for Environment and Water Resources, probably in the mid to late 2000s. What struck me then was his humility and graciousness. No one would have noticed that a minister was in the queue. He was friendly, approachable, and got his food without any fuss. All this with his trademark smile. I was impressed. Dr. Yaacob and I met formally when he was the Minister for Communications and Information. Because of my appointment to the then MDA board and also several other MCI committees, I had the opportunity to work closely with Dr. Yaacob. What strikes me most about Dr. Yaacob in my interactions with him over the last 10 years is his awareness of those around him and how he makes it a point to make those around him feel comfortable and at ease. Let me share with this House my favorite anecdote about Dr. Yaacob. In 2013, I hosted Dr. Yaacob to a dinner at a television market in Cannes, France. My events team in London had made reservations at a halal restaurant in Cannes, which was a challenge back then, as there were only a handful of them. It was a Middle Eastern restaurant, which they said was a highly recommended seafront restaurant. So we sat down to the dinner and at the restaurant, ordered our food, and everything was going well. In the middle of our main course, loud music came on. And to my horror, a belly dancer emerged. She went table to table to try to get diners to join her on the dance floor. I broke out in cold sweat, hoping that she would not stop at our table to ask the minister to dance. Dr. Yaacob patted my hand and said in his usual calm manner, "Ganesh, don't worry about it. Just enjoy your food. I've encountered this in my travels to the Middle East many times, and they won't disturb you if you're busy eating your food." And true enough, the belly dancer skipped our table. Beyond the belly dancing episode, Dr. Yaacob was always connected, calm, and gracious in work settings, so much so that it's quite hard to disagree with him. And even on occasions when we have disagreed, Dr. Yaacob would always make it a point to explain his side of things. He is, to me, an excellent example of a leader who is self-aware, connected, and genuine. And this, to me, is why he is trusted by all who have worked with him and the people he serves. Sir, in Tamil, please. கடந்த வாரம் நமது அதிபர் ஹலிமா யாக்கோப் தம் உரையில் 4ஆம் தலைமுறை தலைவர்கள் எப்படி நம் நாட்டை வழி நடத்தி செல்ல வேண்டும் என்பதை பற்றி பல கருத்துக்களை கூறினார். அவர்கள் மக்களின் ஆதரவை பெற வேண்டும், மக்களிடையே நல்ல உறவும் நம்பிக்கையும் வேண்டும் என்றும் கூறினார். அவர்கள் அதற்கு பாடுபட வேண்டும். 2வது 3வது தலைமுறை தலைவர்கள் மக்களிடையே கோபுரம் போன்ற ஓர் உறவை கட்டியுள்ளார். 4வது தலைமுறை தலைவர்களுக்கு இது எளிதாக செல்லாது. இவர்கள் இன்னும் நம் நாடாளுமன்றத்தில் இருக்கும் மூத்த தலைவர்களிடம் கற்றுக்கொள்ள வேண்டியது நிறைய இருக்கிறது. உதாரணமாக, நாம் நம் அமைச்சர் டாக்டர் யாக்கோப் இப்ராஹிமை எடுத்துக்கொள்வோம். இவர் அமைச்சராக 16 வருடமும் 22 வருடமாக நாடாளுமன்ற உறுப்பினராகவும் இருக்கிறார். நான் அவருடன் ஊடக மேம்பாட்டு ஆணைய கழகத்தில் சில காலம் உறுப்பினராக இருந்தேன். அவருடன் பழக வாய்ப்பு கிடைத்தது. அவர் முகத்தில் என்றுமே ஒரு புன்னகை இருக்கும். தகவல் தொடர்பு அமைச்சில் வேலை செய்யும் நிரந்தர செயலாளர் தொடங்கி இன்னும் அங்கு அமைச்சிலே வேலை செய்யும் அனைவரும் அவரைப் போலவே எளிமையாகவும் பணிவாகவும் பழகினர். 4வது தலைமுறை தலைவர்கள் இவர்களின் அனுபவத்திலிருந்து நிறைய கற்றுக்கொண்டு நாட்டை நன்றாக வழி நடத்தலாம். Sir, President Halima Yaacob in her speech asked for the 4G leaders to make bold moves. For this to happen, trust has to be paramount. If there is no trust, people will not believe the messenger, and bold policy decisions will be that much harder to effect. In today's digital world, the messenger and the way the message is delivered is sometimes more important than the message itself. My hope is that the 4G leadership strives to be continually self-aware as they engage with the people of Singapore, Trust is earned, not given. I'm confident that the 4G leadership will build their own strong connections in the years ahead. Thank you.